So
Okay,
let's
great.
do it.
Marty, thank you. I'll try to make every minute count for the prior presenters. For Jim Tatum, I would just suggest you don't have to be Jewish to celebrate Shabbat. Uh, so yeah, I'm a 40-year vet of the brokerage industry. I've been a registered rep all that time, 40 years, not a single complaint, knock wood. And in my old age, what I try to do is righteous small deals that I think make sense and where I tend to put my own money in because I believe in it. What Marty's referring to about the state of the healthcare market is that we've just come through a very, very dark period in the biotech world where the bottom fell out of the biotech market because of the interest rates spiking up and speculative assets being out of favor, and particularly speculative assets that appeared to be binary. The company that I got involved with years ago was a company called Neotex, and because of the state of the biotech market, this company has a what I consider to be a completely overlooked diamond in the rough, completely invisible to the biotech market, as far as I can tell, for reasons not having a lot to do with the company itself. The drug that we have is a drug called Naptumomab estafenitox. I'm not expecting anybody to remember it. Marty has my email. I'm Eric T. Singer at Gmail, Singer at Bradley Woods, my registered rep. And we put together a company to go out and look for a failed drug at the time that immunotherapy was becoming hot. And we looked at 150 drugs and selected this particular drug because we felt that it could work in immunotherapy and that it had been mistested in the 2000s, so that the prior developer of it really never understood the problem he had. When they went to test this drug, this is a drug that the way the drug works is it takes a fragment of the DNA of Staphylococcus, and it uses what I like in layman's terms I call a piece of Velcro to stick it on the surface of tumors. It attaches to receptors that stick out of tumors, and it was a drug that when they first tested it, they were basically trying to.
Eric, you went mute.
They were trying to cut corners. So what they were looking for was the rapid shrinkage that you see with chemo on tumors, and they didn't see it. So they tested their drug for a little while. They essentially gave up on it. Then they tested it in combination with chemo, but they tested it with only 12 patients. In that trial, they should have had one response. They got two responses. They tested it on a patient with lung cancer who had used docetaxel before, which is a chemo drug. They gave her docetaxel and our drug, and she responded, and the trial ended, and they stopped following her response. Well, she lived for 11 years after being treated, and that's actually an incredible response in the world of chemo. They then decided to test it in combination with interferon alpha, which is no longer a drug that people use on kidney cancer. And our drug boosts anti-drug antibodies, and their drug boosts anti-drug antibodies, and the two drugs together boosted them by 100-fold, and the drug was flushed out of the body before it could do anything. So it was a failed phase 3 drug. Without any, and I'm a generalist banker. I don't have depth of biotech relationships. So when we went out to the venture market, we said, well, we've got this great drug that we think we have figured out how to fix what went wrong in the phase 3 trial. And the venture guys basically said, yeah, that's very nice, but we structurally, number one, we don't believe you that you know how to fix the drug, and number two, taking a failed drug and fixing it is something that we hate to do. Uh, um, that we hate to do in the venture business, because our investors know that they kind of roughly think that they got a 1 out of 10 shot of any one of these things working. But if we do it with something that failed already, they say, oh, well, you tried something that failed and it failed again. Why did you do that? Okay. If you're a poker player and you knew that you had a 50-50 chance of something working that had failed before, you would always make that bet. 50-50 chance of making 10 times your money is an expected value of 500%. Um, uh, that's what you should be doing, okay? But the venture guys were kind of impervious to that. They said, come back when you've demonstrated that you fixed the drug. We came up with a protocol to suppress anti-drug antibodies, and we tested it in phase one. The phase one trial was completed in 2022, and it worked great. We did not expect to get any actual responses in the phase one trial. We were just trying to show that our drug that we could successfully dose patients up to 6 times. But in fact, out of 37 patients, we got 4 responses, and there were all responses in very hard to treat cancers, including a pancreatic stage 4 patient. And we had 7 responses. We had 7 patients that were refractory to checkpoint. Checkpoint inhibitor didn't work for them at all. And out of those 7, we had 2 responses. Now, I want to stop there for 1 second. Checkpoint inhibitors, which some of you may have heard of, if you're active in the biotech space, you've heard of it. Checkpoint inhibitors are the new darling of the immunotherapy market. They're going to have sales of 40 billion this year, and the problem with raising money for a drug that you think works well with checkpoint inhibitor is there are thousands of trials going on with drugs in combination with checkpoint inhibitor, and none of them have really demonstrated that they can lift the average response of checkpoint inhibitors across about 20% of patients actually respond to it. So the natural inclination of an investor is, oh my God, there are thousands of people, there are thousands of trials going on. Why is your drug likely to be so successful? Well, I'm talking to a family office group, so I'm not going to try to make the science points in detail here. But the bottom line is that because of the way our drug works, there are problems with checkpoint inhibitor. It works spectacularly on patients that have a certain biomarker profile. I'll try to simplify it briefly. The checkpoint inhibitor cancer hides in the body when a cell is being inspected by a T cell. The T cells are the cops of the body. They come and they look at every cell of the body every few minutes. Okay, so your cells. The reason you don't have cancer is that the cops of your body are going and they are frisking every cell in the body every few minutes. They're looking at that. What they actually look at is the garbage disposal of your cell, and if they see something funny in that garbage disposal, I'll use the phrase, if they see some bad shit, they issue a kill shot. Okay. Now that kill shot can be stopped. Okay. And the way it can be stopped by cancer is the cancer will reach out to give a chemical handshake to the cop, to the T cell. If that chemical handshake takes place, the cop is disarmed. Okay. Checkpoint inhibitor works best. 35% of patients respond to checkpoint inhibitor if they have the kind of tumor where the handshake is reaching out and they're looking for that handshake. A checkpoint inhibitor puts gloves on that handshake so it can't take place. If there's no handshake, if there's no attempted handshake, checkpoint inhibitor barely works at all. You get a 2 or 3% response rate. Even in our phase one trial, looking back on the handful of patients where we did get a response, for patients that had no handshake showing, we had a 12% response rate. If we can show these numbers in larger numbers in a trial, we can be what's called a second line cancer treatment. If we had a second line cancer treatment for lung, for most of the solid tumor treatments, we would have a multi-billion-dollar exit. So we're going ahead with a trial. in checkpoint inhibitor where we just today reached agreement with an investor in India to use our drug and checkpoint inhibitor. We have AstraZeneca as a partner in using a checkpoint. They provide us with free checkpoint inhibitor. So we got funding for our trial in India, where we're going to be using our drug plus checkpoint inhibitor. We think we're going to get much higher than the 20% rates that checkpoint has gotten standalone. And in the US, we're planning a trial where we're using checkpoint inhibitor on patients that have failed with checkpoint inhibitor in esophageal cancer. So they would use our drug and checkpoint inhibitor. In addition, there's the other really interesting area of immunotherapy is something called CAR T. CAR T is science fiction. They take 10 million of your T cells out of your body. They isolate 10,000 that know how to look for one single molecule. And then they clone them back up into 10 million and they put them back in the body. It works great on blood-related tumors, leukemias, but it does not work at all on solid tumors. We went through Mike Milken's introduction, we went to City of Hope in California, which is the largest California oncology hospital, and said the way our drug works, we can solve the problems of checkpoint inhibitor working on solid tumors. One of the problems is that the CAR T cells are not that potent. If those T cells are cloned in the presence of our drug, they're 600% more potent. One of the other problems with CAR T is that the T cells don't find their way to get to the tumor microenvironment. When we attach that fragment of staph to the surface of the tumors, the T cells traffic to the website, they inflame the tumor, and the combination we think makes them work on solid tumors. The City of Hope said to us, that's all very interesting. Why don't you do a mouse trial to demonstrate that you can make CAR T work on solid tumors? In the world of biotech, that little phrase, do a mouse trial, turns out to be 8 months and 10 people working on it. But we did that. We now have mouse evidence showing that we make CAR T work on solid tumors. So the company's going down a track where it's going to do a trial in India, a trial in the United States with checkpoint, and City of Hope has expressed interest in sponsoring a CAR T trial in the United States. A success in any one of these trials would give us $1 billion inflection in value. I'm an old poker player. I view any one of these trials as probably having roughly a 50-50 shot. If it turns out, if we get all three trials going, I think that the chances of success are greater than 50-50, and any one of them could give us that valuation that would wind up in being a 10 or 20 or 30 bagger. The company, the deal that we anticipate closing on the Indian trial with a valuation cap of 65 million free money, which is a bit of a down round in this environment, but a surviving round. And we're out looking for another 15 to 20 million at that valuation. And we welcome co-investors to go side by side with the Indians. Things have heated up in this environment. I started the conversation by talking about why this is a deal that's hiding in plain sight. We now have several families that have stepped up and said that they want to invest and are completing the due diligence process. I invite if somebody is out there and their family's been affected by cancer and they want to make a cancer investment that is, in my opinion, going to be a sensational cancer investment, please contact me and I'm happy to send you materials. I just don't think I think you've been overwhelmed today with PowerPoints, and I'm happy to send PowerPoint to have a Mark Twain version of this so the layman can understand it. And at the highest science level, we have a definitive article in the Journal of Translational Medicine describing our mechanism of action. Elizabeth Jaffe, who's widely considered the foremost pancreatic cancer doctor in the world, has given us a ringing endorsement on how promising this is for pancreatic cancer. So that's my hurry up version, Marty. If you want me to answer a question or two, I'm happy to do it.
I have time for one question. So, the company is based in the United States.
The company, the lab for the company is based in Israel. The clinical side of the company is based in the East Coast in Florida. And my name is Eric Singer. My phone number is 212-203-5134. I am Singer at Bradley Woods. You can find me in LinkedIn, and I would love to communicate with anybody that actually wants to hear about a breakthrough technology that's been invisible to the VC community.
Great. So we'll distribute your information to everybody, and we'll go from there.
Thanks, Marty.
Fantastic.